welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the RAPOOL Baltic Seminar Week in 2021. My name is Rene Brand and I'm International Product Manager at RAPOOL, and I will guide you here today through the new story RlmS, the FOMA resistance for your demand in the Baltics. Why is it important today to speak about FOMA resistance and the benefits for your purposes? If we look to the development in the last years, the European rapeseed market come in problems, has to struggle with a lot of new challenges. There is on one side the abiotic stress, mainly drought here in the last years in early spring and summertime. Next to that, we have to see an increasing influence of the political pressure. There is influence coming from the politics, especially for pesticide usage or limited fertilization in the coming years. On top of that, and not really a new topic, you know it, the ban from the insecticide treatment since a couple of years bring our rapeseed farmers in a new situation. They have to struggle in the last years with more problems of a successful rapeseed establishment before winter. I would like to discuss with you the influence of diseases like FOMA and why is it necessary here to have new resistances for the coming years. If we compare 2021, for example, with the last outstanding year 2014, we see there is a gap of yield. We have to struggle with the decreasing production, and that's why we as RAPOOL looking forward for new solutions like RlmS, the new FOMA resistance. I already mentioned since 2014-15 we see here on this graph very well that the rapeseed production goes down. That had several reasons which I already touched at the slide before. And we see here now for 2019, and I can add the figures for 2020, that we are now on a production level of 17 million tons. That is not enough to supply the own demand, the domestic demand, what we have here in the European Union, which is on a level of 23 to 24 million. So we need import that bring the market in a challenging situation. And when you look right now to the MATIF prices, you see how is it going on. I was thinking now, how can I bring you a little bit better in connection to the topic FOMA, and I was deciding, okay, why not to show you our impressions here from last year, from the testing field of NPZ as one of the shareholders of RAPOOL here in the north of Germany. We saw such symptoms which coming from a very aggressive FOMA infection last year. We found the infections in our plants which was surprising us because we didn't expect that in such a high level. And we found then these typical FOMA symptoms and asking ourselves, okay, what are the reasons for that? Why we have to struggle here in our conditions, in our testing field with such a high FOMA infection? And we analyzed later then the background data of this trial, and we found out, okay, this trial was called late sowing trial. So these variants have to establish before winter under quite challenging conditions, and we decided based on that to not treat them with fungicide as you usually do that with your rapeseed in the Baltics in autumn time. On top of that, this rapeseed was then very weak, developed with very low nitrogen intensities, but this we will see later then in another slide. So to go a little bit deeper, what is FOMA, and do we always speak here really about the same? No, it's not. I would like to bring you a little bit more information of FOMA. The sexual stage, the name of the sexual stage is Leptosphaeria maculans. That is the international name where we can find this disease in all other countries. We see that we have two different types here in the European rapeseed market. More to the west we can find this Leptosphaeria maculans, which is also a little bit more aggressive to the rapeseed. More in your area, and influenced by the continental climate, we see then more this Leptosphaeria biglobosa, which is a little bit less aggressive. So we see here that even if the symptoms on the leaves look pretty similar, it is not always then the same pathotype behind. We pay attention to FOMA and try to develop new resistances together with our research department, because we know that FOMA lingam is still one of the most important rapeseed diseases here in the European Union, and with a very big impact depending then on the local conditions. Already mentioned, we have different types, and we see a little bit decreasing importance from west to the east, but it doesn't matter if the conditions are right, then you can also have here a bigger impact in your area. What is necessary for a successful FOMA infection? Of course, we need the right conditions, so that means temperature, we need moisture, okay, that is precipitation. And early spring is also welcome, and damage coming from autumn time, so challenging conditions for the young rapeseed plants. Now probably you ask yourself, okay, new resistance, okay, but we already have quite a lot of resistances like RlmS. Yes, that is true. They were really helpful in the past to support here the farmers with a broad protection. We, as RAPOOL, mentioned already, we go further, we look how we can improve here the situation and give new alternative solutions to our customers. So we developed here the genetic, we make a further selection, and we found a new advanced resistances called RlmS, which gives a new improved resistance, and it was also able with RlmS to set up really a new benchmark for plant health, which also give a better abiotic stress tolerance. Some more information for you to a little bit to identify the differences between RlmS on one side and the older well-known resistances like RlmS. RlmS belongs to this group of R genes which are a qualitative resistance. They are working directly from the beginning of the rapeseed growth, so when the rapeseed is starting to develop the first leaves, then this resistance is turned on and working then over the whole time. Additional resistances which we see in our genetic, that is then the quantitative resistances, which have a little bit more broad perspective. We call them field resistance. They are not focused on a single FOMA race, working a little bit more broad, and give here additional protection against the FOMA. RlmS, how was it developed here in RAPOOL? NBZ, as one shareholder of the RAPOOL, looked here for a way to identify in the early stage of the new candidates how they are working against FOMA. So we developed a FOMA testing system which is running more or less under semi-field conditions. What does it mean? We took our new materials, sow them out in the field, go then in the late autumn to the field, took these plants, bring them back into a cold greenhouse, which is running under semi-field conditions. We plant them, the plants there, and give them an artificial infection with very aggressive Foma races to see how susceptible are these new candidates, or are there some candidates between which are showing a very strong resistance against Foma. Later on, we follow here the growth and the behavior of this new material and checked out later then the stem base in order to see here how are the different candidates performing. This gives us a clear picture, and we were able to identify with RlmS a new resistance which is coming from a new resource and working in a totally other way than RlmS7, because here we see a very strong protection of the stem base. So keep in mind, RlmS7 was working very well on the stage of the leaves and stems. Here RlmS is focused on the stem base and showing here very strong performance. Let's go a little bit further. I could imagine now that you ask yourself, okay, new resistance, okay, good to know, let's see about the performance in the field, but where are my benefits in comparison to the fungicide tradition, to my fungicide strategy? So question, is it more marketing or is there something behind? Let's have a look. I shared already our impressions from last year here in the north of Germany, where we found in our testing field this Foma infection, and we took the chance to go out and make some quick scoring for the Foma infections and for the performance of our tested varieties. So here you can see on the graph that we have two groups. We have one group with Foma resistances, which are then leading the list of these varieties. And of course, the varieties without Foma resistance, they are then here at the end of the list and showing very clear Foma symptoms. Interesting was also this trial was not only a trial with focus on sowing date. We also test here the variety performance on two different nitrogen intensities. So we test them with 120 kilogram nitrogen applied in springtime and with 170 kilogram. And we could see that the variant with 120 really bring our material into a big stress. And in the other side, the variant with 170 kilograms gives some more energy to the plants to compensate here then the Foma infection. So that is then here what we can see in the difference between yellow and green color. What can you expect from our side? Yeah, maybe some of you which are in love with the rapeseed, they already recognized this story RlmS. We are not the only one on the market with this new resistance. We are the first one who was able to combine at the moment most powerful resistances. That is on one side the turnip yellow virus resistance, and on the other side the already proposed RlmS story. What is the benefit of this combination of these two powerful resistances? Yeah, we see it here. We speak now about a new generation of hybrids called this climate change generation of hybrids, which give us a lot of additional benefits. So what are the most important for you? Based on the turnip yellow virus trait, we see an additional yield boost of 5-7%. Depends on the local condition, can go up to 10 and more. We have an additional growth boost in the autumn time, which give us more flexibility in the sowing date. And the RlmS story, the RlmS resistance, give us a much better improved plant health, so very robust material, and that is then also supporting our yield stability. So very attractive package for the challenge which you have to struggle right now outside in the fields. And probably most important slide here in my presentation are some very interesting data from Czech Republic. I would like to explain. We know now that this RlmS is giving us a strong plant health, and while in the past the first RlmS varieties were able to set up a new benchmark for plant health, now the new candidates are able to convince with yield and plant health, and we see that here with these two varieties which were here in the official trials in Czech Republic leading in yield and plant health. Plant health, how these people from SBZO developed it and how they scoring that. They established since a few years a called Plant Health Index, which based on the scoring against FOMA, Sclerotinia, Verticillium, so that is an all-in-all index and giving here a good feeling about the robustness of these new varieties. Let's have a look to further benefits of this RlmS resistance. We see here that not only that there is a protected stem base, no, there is also a very robust stem, a very robust material against other diseases which came late then in the vegetation, and we're speaking here about verticillium. So this strong, powerful material is showing then here a higher robustness against this soil-borne disease verticillium, and that is then interesting for the farmers between you, which looking for a solution for usage in very tight crop rotation. So this new material gives some alternatives also for this case. We were the first one with this resistance in the market. First registration was already 2015 in France. Now it took a couple of years to improve this material also in the way of better yield, and now we can find this resistance in several further varieties which are already introduced to the Baltic market, and you can see that also in the next years we will have further varieties with this disease resistance background. So I come to the end of my presentation, and I would like to summarize the points which we have heard here in the last minutes. FOMA still one of the most powerful and important diseases with a very high impact. I just want to underline here the figures, for example, from UK in West Europe. They somehow estimate an impact, a negative impact of up to 100 million euros per year just because of FOMA. We see also that in the past there was already a broad package of different FOMA resistances available, but the point, most of the used hybrids, they worked with this RlmS resistance. And so it's no surprise that these podotypes, they start shifting, they start to find adaptations to this RlmS resistance, and so we see right now an observation that this resistance and the efficiency is going down. So it's good now to have with RlmS a new solution, a new alternative resistance for our rapeseed in the European Union. We still have a lot of fungicides which give us protection against FOMA, but keep also here in mind we lose more and more of these products because of end of the registration and no prolongation. So the alternatives here regarding fungicides decreasing. There is the political wish to reduce here the pesticides to go down, and that means we need the alternatives, and that is here then of course RlmS. RAPOOL, With our focus always to go ahead, we developed here already in the past successfully this new resistance in order to have something new for you, powerful and working, and also in the order to improve here the integrated pest management, to have a better resistance management in the European Union. As an expert for rapeseed, of course, we also looked forward and go a step forward in this way that we combine as one of the first breeders this RlmS resistance with the powerful turnip yellow virus resistance for more yield stability, for more success in your production. And yeah, last point from my side. Dominator and Aquila are right now in our portfolio the most powerful and convincing hybrids with turnip yellow virus and RlmS, and they are definitely the right choice for farmers who look for an alternative in tight crop rotations. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you liked this small presentation. And hopefully we have the chance in summertime to see each other then maybe in Acrovisia. Otherwise, if that will be not possible, I wish you all the best for a successful rapeseed season 2021. Stay healthy, all the best to you, and bye bye.